Cebu is an island that never stops feeding itself, with history, with movement, with flavor. The first Spanish ships landed here, but long before that, Chinese traders were already sailing into the port of Sugbo, exchanging silk for gold and herbs for dried fish. Geography shaped everything. A narrow island split by mountains, bound by sea on both sides, where life meant working with what the land and water allowed. Today, the city grows fast, and the pace can feel relentless. New buildings rise, restaurants open, and industries shift. But in that rush, some traditions are slipping away. Recipes and small crafts that once defined daily life now sit at the edge of memory. Cebu carries a question that every growing place eventually faces. Does it follow the path of Metro Manila, becoming bigger, louder, and more global? Or does it fight to keep its island identity, its provincial charm, and its sense of place?
Sometimes the universe syncs your schedule with the cities. The capital is holding a food fair, and every municipality has something to show. You walk through aisles of chicharron from Karkar, corn rice from the north, dried fish from Bantayan. The smell shifts from sugar to smoke to vinegar in seconds. It's overwhelming because I really want to buy everything, but we don't have much time.
Morning po! Kumusta? How are you? Can I, we'll get this. Yeah, we'll buy one. Yeah. So this is the Kabog, so the millet that we featured, and I've actually never tried it, so really cool that here in the capital there's a food market happening exactly the time that we're here with all the municipalities and the different regions. It's the founding anniversary of Cebu, and it's really cool to see kind of everything consolidated in one place, and I really hope most local governments kind of do the same kind of effort in putting all this together, because it really makes a difference in terms of seeing everything in one place, so you can really see the diversity, the bounty of the Philippines. Trying this, that's so good. Texture-wise, it's like really nice and soft, not too grainy. Compared to rice and kind of like your sumans and stuff, way less dense, so way more pockets of, not air, but way more airy inside in terms of texture. So good. Make sure you check out the full documentary about Kabog. Yum.
Uy, ang amo kinabuhi din sa bukid. O, mao na, mag-usahay. O kapoyon kami, kuan mi katabang. Amo pa tabangon pag limpyo. O, nya, dayon, magpakot kami parang anang birme. O, mahawa na, magpatabang sa mi magpatanom kay kami namang duha. Mag-umahay gimi gyud. Mag-uuma gimi, farmer gyud ako ginikanan. Muni na sunod nga trabaho. Nya, karon nga minyo nami. Mo sa di amo gikon parang maka-eskwela amo ang anak. Oh, muna magtanong mais. Nya, dayon kamote, mga bulanghoy. Nya, ang pinaka kuan gyud ang kabog. Kay mao may makortahan. Pangbaligya na mo para maka-eskwela amo ang anak. 500 gyud ang kuan ay. Per kilo? Gantang dili. Gantang lang? Oh, 200. Duha ka kilo og tunga ang usa ka gantang. Sa ako apuhan. Oy, ito do nila nga kana lami na kaunon siya. Pandili siya kabusog. Sa lami ra. Para lami ra niya. Nasay makuha pa sa imo kuan sa lawas na para lawas nimo. Oh, ang ako mga apuhan, mao rig siya nakamauna ni. Kami rig pinaka kuan dito nga dagko. Ang pamilya niya sa ako apuhan pulos gyud sila nagtanom. Nakabalay sila, kaeskwela ilang mga anak. Muna ilagig.
Talaga sa matinding araw, init, matinding init kasi para araw kasi ano dito ay nga hibaw ani mabusan hibaw nani magluto tayo ng budbud kabog or suman na kabog. Kahoy nga. Tara, inday. Kahoy, inday, panguha niya, oh. Ang ricados nato no para sa budbud kabog is the kabog, the coconut milk and the little brown sugar. Lulutuin lang natin ito sa gata. Unahin natin ang gata. Sa Bisaya ang pangalan nito ay tacho. So this is made of clay at ang maka-add ito sa aroma sa paggawa ng budbud kabog. Yung gata nito is isang baso na kabog at saka isang baso na tubig na igagata natin sa niyog. At saka ang yung brown sugar nito is katamtaman lang kung anong gusto mo, yung matamis or yung kulang ng yung kulang ng tamis. Talagang importante sa akin dahil may sentimental value siya kasi galing to sa mga grandparents ko. Pinasa-pasa ng uncle ko. Then, sa kanyon nga generation, ako na naman. So, ganito kahalaga. Dito kami nabubuhay. Ito ang panghanap buhay namin.
Ang kabog?
Ang paggawa ng budbud kabog. Yes. Wow. Yan din ang dahilan kung bakit kahit gaano kahirap lalo na sa pagbibigas at saka sa pagluluto, kahit gaano kahirap, pinatuloy-tuloy pa rin namin ang gawain dahil nagiging importante, nagiging passion namin at saka parang ang bigat ng ang value sa gawain ito. Kahit na gaano kahirap at may panahon pa rin na maka-smile, makatawa. I have made a decision na we have to go farming. We have to go farming because kung walang farmer, hindi kami makagawa. So the problem is you have to go farming so that malaman mo na na mayroon kang gagawin na panghanap buhay. Kasi kung walang ma-produce na kabog, wala kaming hanap buhay din. So nagiging farmer na kami. Kung walang farmer, walang pagkain. Yun. Pag kumulo na yung gata, ano natin yung kabog. Yung nakita ko sa tatay ko na nagiging agriculturist din tatay ko, ang climate change is nandyan. Kung mayroon typhoon, kung maubos lahat ng seeds, wala nang maiwan sa farmer. Ganyan ka halaga sa akin yung pagiging farmer na ngayon. Galing sa seed hanggang sa pag-produce sa mga products. Yan. So, there's a security, in food farming. Lalagyan na natin ito na naluluto na siya sa gata. Kasi lumabas na yung oil niya, yung lana. Tsaka lalagyan na natin siya ng sugar. Kahit kunti lang kasi ito brown sugar, para hindi masyado siyang matamis. Kasi yung kabog mismo, mayroon na siyang sugar na konti. So, hindi mo siyang kailangan na maraming sugar ang ilalagay. Yun. Mabango talaga siya. Yan ang nag-add ng aroma sa clay pot. Pakuluan siguro mga 20 minutes lang. Ito na ang resulta. Ito na po ang budbud kabog. So ganito na yan pag bukas. Ganyan. Kasi itong dahon siya ang holder. Wow. Yan. Ganyan. Sarap.
I wouldn't have heard of Kabog if it weren't for Louella. Every province has a few key people who are fighting to keep their food culture alive and relevant. And in Cebu, Louella is one of the most respected voices.
Louella brings me to La Fortuna, a bakery older than most of the city's malls. The scent of butter and sugar hits before the door opens. Hopia, torta, masi, and pan de coco sit under warm lights under its ironically Spanish name. But like most Chinese-influenced bakeries, everything is prepackaged, ready to be shipped and carried to other parts of the country.
We'll start with this one. This is called elorde.
Okay.
Elorde because a boxing champion came from Cebu.
Okay.
See Flash Elorde before.
Yes.
They call this bahog-bahog.
Bahog-bahog.
So they make use of the old bread. Then this one is pinisi. If you notice,
Yes.
it's like a rope.
Correct.
Kai-kai. I don't know where it got its name, but this is a cookie that's rolled in peanuts.
Okay.
And then this one is the pianono.
Like a rolled cake.
Yes. So these are actually old breads. Most bakeries now do not carry this. But La Fortuna still carries.
So why do you think this is still so popular? Why people...
Number one, it's affordable. And I think it's the memory. Because most of us as children were brought to La Fortuna by our grandmothers.
So this is a very Cebuano
Very
institution.
Cebuano. It's a very old Cebuano bakery.
Okay, let's try the masi because you were talking about this.
Ah, the masi.
We saw it in the museum also.
Yes.
The further away you are from the city, the more likely this is made with gabi or
Gabi,
in a certain area.
We call this Chinese masi because the other one is local.
Local masi.
Yes.
So the other one is peanut and muscovado. This one is glutinous rice with peanut mostly.
Yes, it's just peanuts with a little sugar.
And you've done a lot of work when it comes to culinary mapping the island and kind of documenting the traditional recipes and things. How do you think Cebu is doing in terms of being part of the national conversation of Filipino food?
I think the reason why I went into documenting Cebuano food is people do not pay attention to Cebuano food because we're just Sugbatua and Kilaw when we can say that, oh, we have other things to offer.
It was never the diversity of the food. It was always lechon, which I
Yes.
think is good, but it's also a crutch in a sense that...
Yeah, I think it's so unfair.
Correct.
Because we have other things to offer.
Yeah.
Cebu does not have vast lands like Negros or Leyte. Cebu is like an elongated kamote with mountain ridges in the middle. And then it slopes down to the sea. Sam nga eh, pangpang na, dagat agad. So that's why traditionally we do not raise rice. So we planted before millet or kabog because it grows in the hillsides. It does not need a lot of water. Because of our lack of natural resources, we have learned to be traders. That's why Cebu is so open to the world. The influences in our cooking started maybe from the Chinese, and then more than 300 years of Spanish influence in our cooking. But the thing is, mahal yung ingredients ng Spanish cooking. And so with all the influences, and then later on came the Americans. But I think all of these influences have enriched our food. Kasi from Sugbatua and Kilaw, which is very basic, we learned to fry. We learned to gisal in Cebuano, which is gisar in Spanish. Tapos isasangkot siya mo yun, saka mo ilalagay yung sahog, and then you can make so many dishes from that. So, yun ang I think basic na assumption mo sa Cebuano cooking. The Chinese must always been with us because they came here to trade. Like the Spaniards, they came to colonize, to take over us. But when the Chinese came, they came to trade, and then they stayed, and then they intermarried. Nagkasawa na rito. So nagkisilang Cebuano in a way, di ba? So like, ang influence nila sa aming food, for example. And then, we always say nga na, bakit walang Chinatown sa Cebu? Walang Chinatown kasi the whole Cebu is a Chinatown. Cebuano cuisine actually is very basic. Ang hinihingi lang ng Cebuano is always freshness in the ingredients. Kaya yung basic 3 methods of cooking na paborito namin na sinugba, tinuwa, and kinilaw. Kung walang presko isda, walang kinilaw. Actually, we eat what the land and the sea can provide us. Hindi maarte ang Cebuano cuisine. It's just that we want freshness. Kaya may luya ang lahat ng aming dishes because we don't want langsa. Yung siniserve namin na STK, yung SuTuKil, di ba? Yan yung naano lagi ng mga tao na sa Cebu may SuTuKil. So yun na rin yung sinerve namin kay Magellan. So whatever you eat now goes a long way back to the 16th century.
Talking about local favorites, SuTuKil is a rite of passage in the Visayas. It just makes sense. Something raw and acid-forward, something comforting and warm, and something grilled and smoky. It could be the perfect meal.
This is A1 Tinola and Sinugba, sir. We were established back 1980s. Initially, sa pier talaga kami. Tapos we were relocated here. And then, years after, here we are. Sa A1, sir, ang pinakamasarap naming pagkain ay lahat. But, ang main feature namin is our tinola. Yung ulo, yung slice, at sometimes may buntot. And then, yung inihaw namin na may bestseller na isda, yung tasik namin, tapos yung pork belly. Tapos may kilawin kami, may guso, may lato, may fresh lumpia, yung rilnyero na crab, yun lang, sir. Tapos yung pang karinderya na ulam na rin, sir. Meron na rin po. Yung sistema namin, sir, may siyam talaga na magkakapatid. Tapos, each year, we're given 1 year of terms to manage and to support each of our families through this business, sir. So, bale, after 1 year, iba na naman yung magmamanage. Sa mga gustong kumain dyan ng masarap na sabaw tsaka masarap na inihaw, we are here at A1 Tinola and Sinugba, 2nd Street, North Reclamation Area, here in Mabolo, Cebu City. We are open daily from Monday to Sunday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. po.
And then there's Ngohiong. Yung Ngohiong kasi, it started coming out in the late 60s. I was still a student then. We would buy it for like 1 peso each. No, not 1 peso, 50 centavos. And then the puso was like 25 cents. Malaki yun. So with 1 puso and 1 Ngohiong, that's practically lunch for a student. I think one of the pioneers of Ngohiong in Cebu is Doming's. And then other Ngohiong makers started doing it. Ngohiong is basically parang lumpia, but it is made of bamboo shoots with 5 spice seasoning. The Ngohiong, that's the name of the spice placed inside. So, binabalot lang yun ng lumpia wrapper, but the lumpia wrapper is dipped into a batter, which makes it very crispy. Kaya ang sarap. Crispy siya, tapos sa loob, meron yung bango ng bamboo shoots. The Ngohiong places near the schools are, I think, reliable because the students frequent it. And most schools, most big schools, would have Ngohiong places near it. Kasi it's one of the cheapest for the students to buy. With 1 or 2 Ngohiongs, you have lunch already, and 1 or 2 puso. That's enough. Oo. We have this secret vice, which is eating ginabot or chicharong bulaklak from Pungko. There's a big one near Fuente. It's called Pungko sa Fuente. Alam mo, nung araw, there are street food sellers which is patronized by workers, and meron talagang mga stalls sa streets na yung may table lang na makeshift, tapos walang silya. So, to pungko is to hunker. Tapos, bibigyan ka lang ng plastic na, kasi wala silang utensils. Kakain ka nun. Ang dami niyang ipipili. Meron siyang ngoyong, meron siyang chicharon bulaklak, at saka yung fried na intestines, yung ginabot. Yung tawag doon yung ginabot. Fried pork chop na paninipis. Everything crispy is there. Later, nagbigay na sila ng mababang bangko. Tapos, nainggit na ang lahat. So they had to make one that's decent enough for most people to eat in.
Walk down Colon Street, the oldest street in the Philippines, and you can still feel that history humming beneath the noise. The smell of incense mixed now with diesel fumes. Shop signs alternate between English, Chinese characters, and Bisaya. China comida is a thing here, and many of the restaurants that were recommended to us were Filipino Chinese.
So Cebu Lumpia House, it used to be called Lumpia House only. So it started in the 1960s. So we're a mix of Filipino Chinese food. Cebu Lumpia House was created because my grandfather used to love to cook. They had nine daughters and sons, and they all know how to cook. The initial menu was Ngohiong. That's the first. But then, since we're in Cebu, Philippines, so they incorporated Filipino food with Chinese. The pork humba, we also have the pork steak with onions. We have a lot actually of variety of Filipino food. So our best seller, Ngohiong. Second would be Chinese lumpia, a shrimp roll with black sesame seeds, batchang, sticky rice with pork and chicken, and then we'll have fried chicken Peking style. The sixth one is kikiam. The flavors for this Chinese Filipino food in Cebu, it's a bit mixture because we have to adjust to the Cebuano taste. Maybe sweet, a little sweet. For example, like the pork humba, we have to make it a little sweet. We have to make some a little salty.
Wow, that's a lot.
This is Ngohiong.
This is the Ngohiong, okay.
Yes, this is the first one ever we sold in a kiosk. We have a sauce. This is spicy, this is sweet, and not spicy.
Not spicy. There's more?
Last one. This is the last one. This is shrimp roll with black sesame seeds. So
Okay.
it's made with ground shrimp with a little bit of pork fat.
Amazing. And these are all family recipes?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Enjoy her.
Thank you. So I have heard a lot about the Filipino-Chinese community in Cebu compared to Manila where it's concentrated in certain areas. Here it seems that it's way more assimilated, and I've been told that the food here of the FilChi community is different from what we find in Binondo. I'm gonna start with the matchang. I haven't had these in a long time. Usually wrapped in lotus leaves. I've had this in kind of dim sum restaurants, but in the Philippines, not as often. This has to be one of my favorite things. The salted shrimp in there, so good. Nice and sticky. Such a like umami bomb flavor. This one here really caught my eye. That's not something that I've seen a lot. So I'm gonna try this with the spicy sauce. So we got a spring roll with some shrimp. That filling is still so juicy. It kind of retains like such a great texture. Like usually when I have spring rolls with shrimp, a bit more chunky and kind of cartilagey inside. But here it's like really nice and soft. Then we have some roast chicken. I'm gonna try it first without any sauce. Yum. That is so tasty. And the fat really comes through nicely. Try it with some sauce. Wow, wee wow. Okay, next. We'll start with the kikiam. I'm gonna try the yellow sauce this time. I don't have a lot of reference because I don't eat much kikiam when I'm there in Manila. But this is really tasty. I like how the skin almost feels like fried chicken skin in the sense that it's really crispy but still like detached from the kikiam itself. Now we'll do the Ngohiong.
Ngohiong.
So I said Ngohiong.
No.
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 No. No. One more time.
No.
Ngohiong. I said it right.
Wala kasi kayo sa practice. Wala pala ganun sa inyo.
That's good. That's yummy. Really crispy. Everything's really nice and tight inside. The bamboo shoots for me are like a nice surprising part of this. Yum.
I've passed Chinese pharmacies my whole life. Shelves stacked to the ceiling, labels in characters I can't read. But I never went in until today. The place smells like ginseng and menthol. The man behind the counter looks up, silent but alert, and starts pulling jars and paper packets from the back. We quickly drop the niceties because he has heard of every ailment over the last decades, and I just really want something simple.
Finally, nice to meet you.
Finally, nice to meet you.
I also watch your
Videos? So you know I eat a lot.
Yeah.
So I need something to help me digestion, and because we're gonna be eating a lot today,
Yeah.
something that'll help me.
And also to some cleansing for you to bring, at least to detox.
To detox. Okay, nice.
Yes.
So how long have you had this pharmacy?
This pharmacy started in 1969
Oh wow.
by my father.
Yeah. And how many other Chinese pharmacies are there here?
We are 5 here in Cebu.
Okay. Your customers are only Chinese, or is it anyone?
Anyone.
Okay.
Anyone.
I've always walked into these confused. Because I mean, the medicine that I know is very different, right?
Yeah.
So is it the same as a traditional pharmacy, just using different natural supplements and herbs?
There are times, that are similar like that, but also there are times that some people will ask, then we can recommend. And also there would be Chinese doctors that they would have their prescription meds given to us to pack it for the clients.
Yeah. And is it all, everything here natural, or is it a mix of pharmaceutical and natural?
Actually, all the herbal stuffs, they're natural.
Okay.
And then some of the prepared medicines already, it's traditional herbal, but there are some, the new ones that are already mixed.
Okay.
Because especially now, since the newer generation, they're a bit impatient because the totally traditional, it takes time. And then people nowadays are,
I want to get better tomorrow.
Done. I want instant. So you have to mix, because if purely herbal, it won't be.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay, so what can you recommend for me then, for something just for digestion?
For some digestion, I would recommend you dried hawthorn berry, which helps digestion. And then this is goji berry to give a sweeter taste, because this one is a bit sour. This one is, we call this herb as kamcho in Chinese. In English, it's dried licorice, because this one will also help balance, because this one is a bit acidic. That's why this one usually for helps digestion needs to be.
It needs to be mixed.
Mixed, because some people have not so strong stomachs. Licorice has to go in, so at least to balance out. So.
And all these ratios are just, they're in your head? You remember them?
I remember them from my dad that told me.
Amazing.
That's 10 grams each.
So this is the tea?
That is the tea.
So 2 cups of water with the mix that you gave me.
Yes, with the mix.
And that reduces down to 1 cup. So that's only good for 1 portion?
1 portion.
Okay. And you take it, how many times a day would you, or just 1 time?
1 time, or when you need it.
Okay. It's medicine, but it's delicious. Like, it tastes really good.
Yeah, because it's fruity.
Yeah.
It's kind of fruity.
So the sweetness comes from the goji berries.
Goji berries, dried hawthorn.
Ah, yes. Hawthorn is what they put in the haw flakes.
Haw flakes.
Right.
And then there's also a preserve of it.
Okay.
Sometimes when people are on the go, or something like they're traveling, if you don't have time to make preparation, you can just take this.
Oh, okay. And so this is also good for
the digestion. But normally, this kind of fruit, the dried hawberry, is quite acidic. That's why I put licorice to balance out.
Yeah, I don't get acidic, so I'd be able to eat that.
You can try one.
Thank you. This is so good. Thank you very much, Alan.
Hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
You can't come to Cebu and skip tuslabua. It's part street food, part social ritual. A shallow pan of bubbling pork brain and oil sits on the counter. You tear off a piece of puso, dunk it into the foam, making sure not to burn your hands, and just scoop everything up and lick your fingers. Strangers share the same pan. It's primal, messy, democratic.
When you come to Cebu, we'll tell you, you have to have tuslabua. And it becomes one of those things, but honestly, it's still one of the best bites of food that you're gonna have over here. That just has everything you need.
We've come to the point of the episode where you're probably wondering, what about lechon, Erwan? Don't worry, we're still just getting started.
Siguro sa kaibahan ng timpla ng lechon sa Cebu, kahit saang sulok ng mundo, pwede akong makipag-compete sa timpla lang ng lechon.
I guess there's always been lechon wars in Cebu because most Cebuanos will tell you they have their preference. Yeah, Cebuanos are so proud of our lechon.
The best man mga lechon. Muna, nagsamot nun kasikat. Anabitad ako kay nga kwan. Anak ka, the best lechoner in Cebu City.
Masarap talaga. Walang makakapantay.
Across the Philippines, lechon isn't just a dish, it's a national celebration. Cities compete for the crown of lechon capital, each with lechoneros roasting for festivals, markets, and eager crowds. In Quezon City, soy vinegar and garlic season each pig. In Negros, batuan gives it a tangy twist. In northern Mindanao, lemongrass fills the air with fragrant aroma. But one name always stands out: Cebu. Considered by many as the birthplace, Cebu's pride lies in its crispy skin, savory meat, and time-honored roasting traditions. Pre-colonial Filipinos were already domesticating pigs, roasting them over fire in communal celebrations, and using them as ceremonial animals in rites of sacrifice and celebration. When Magellan's expedition reached the Visayas in 1521, chronicler Antonio Pigafetta described how Magellan's crew were welcomed with roasted pork and raw fish, proof that the practice of roasting pigs and kinilaw existed long before colonial influence. Lechon, derived from the word leche, originally refers to a milk-fed suckling pig, and like many things in the country, the name stuck. But just because it has a Spanish name doesn't mean it's influenced by Spain. This connects to a wider Austronesian tradition where open-fire cooking has long brought communities together, turning every roast into a shared celebration. From these shared roots, unique local styles have emerged from Talisay to Karkar and Cebu City itself. Each town brings its own twist to this iconic dish. Talisay City is widely believed to be the home of Cebu's first lechoneros. In the 1920s, they began perfecting this craft, calling it inasal. The term comes from asal, which refers to cooking over live coals, a term that is now mostly understood as the barbecue chicken dish from Negros. But here, this tradition continues today, celebrated in the Halad Inasal Festival. Talisay lechon often features lemongrass, pineapple juice, or sometimes a splash of Sprite with anise, adding subtle sweetness to the overall pork. The pork itself takes center stage, and locals often will tell you not to eat it with sauce.
Ako po si Ruth Garces Villarante, yung may-ari ng Rotis Lechon. Isa din akong guro ng Talisay City National High School. Yung lechon namin nagsimula noon sa mga lula ko pa. Yung nanay ko ang tagapagtinda, yung lula ko yung tagapagluto. Kami lahat ng mga anak, kahit 5 years old pa kami, pinagtitinda na kami ng nanay namin. O sa awa ng Diyos, kami lahat nagtitinda eh. Prepare namin lahat yan. 2 o'clock in the morning na. Pag may order kami, yung timpla, prepare na yan lahat. Ibinigay na lang namin sa mga tao namin. Yung mga tao namin na lang ang maglagay, pero hindi sila ang nag-measure. Mula sa asin hanggang sa juice, may juice kasi yung lechon namin, iba yun eh. Isa lang kasi ang nagtitimpla, ako lang. O yung mga tao, maglalagay lang yun ng lahat ng timpla. O, pero pag ang yung mixing namin, ako lang yan ang gumawa. 1970s, nag-boom yung lechon ni nanay ko. Yung pangalan noon, Milas Lechon. Noon, hindi pa kinikilo yung lechon. Yung tinatawag namin, mata-mata lang, for your eyes only. Oo. Kung anong presyo ng buong lechon, i-divide nyo lang lahat. O, at saka maliliit yung lechon noon. Kaya hindi kinikilo. Ngayon, ang tao naghahanap ng kinikilo, kaya nagluto na kami ng malaki. Na Namatay yung nanay ko 2004. Nag-assume ako 2005. Nang ipina-register namin sa DTI, ayaw nilang tanggapin yung Mila kasi patay na yung nanay ko. Kaya pinalitan namin ng Rooties Lechon. Yung course na natapos ko talaga is chemical engineering. Nang nag-a-apply ako ng trabaho, hindi siniswerte. Tapos, yung principal ko dito sa high school, tinatawagan ako. Sabi niya, gusto mo magturo? Sige, kuha ka ng units ng education. Yung nanay ko kasi, hindi nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral. Dito lang sa negosyo. Kami lang lahat talaga. Hanggang sa paglalako, hanggang sa puzzle from carbon market, going here. Pag maglalako kami, sabihan namin talisay. Kaya nga sumisikat yung lechon talisay. Iba kasi yung lechon talisay, may lasa na hindi na kailangang sarsa. Hindi mas maalat at hindi rin mas matabang, yung equal lang. Hanggang sa buto, hanggang sa laman, may timpla. Sabi nila, oo. Yan ang lechon talisay. Napakarami ng lechonero dito sa Talisay. Although sawa ng Diyos ang sa amin yung dito lang sa Talisay, pero okay naman. Bumuboom naman yung lechon namin. Okay lang kahit maliit yung gain, as long as marami yung customer mo. At saka dapat masarap talaga yung lechon mo, yung work mo, yung kahit yung sa dinuguan, yung internal organs, sarapan din namin kasi yun lang ang hahanapin ng tao. Marami kaming competitor dito.
Since we were in Talisay, we decided to pass by Leslie's and order one lechon. This pig was made famous by the Netflix Street Food Asia series.
When you mention the word of Talisay, it's famous for lechon talaga. Kaya magpunta kayo sa park doon, every Sunday, ang rami-rami, siguro mga 20 mag-shop ng lechon. Yung lola ng husband ko is the pioneer of lechon industry. She started it, kita niyo sa museum ng Talisay, 1940s. Imagine, 1940s. 6 years, naging apprentice ako ng mother-in-law ko. Tinuruan ko siya sa pag-wrap ng lechon, ganyan. Instant, step by step ba? Because I had the best teacher, yung mother-in-law ko. She was the best lechonero. The ingredients is talagang the basic. Asin lang. Noon, hindi kami gumamit ng MSG. Yung the best is yung star anise. Good for preservative talaga. The right salt, the right MSG, the right spring onion. Tama na, masarap na yon. Perfect na yon. Lami na. Pag may mo-order sa amin, may freebies talaga yon. Lahat dito sa Talisay. Freebies na dinuguan, fried liver, fried bulaklak, or what we call it, shai.
Do you do it differently from other people?
The same.
The same, but it's the experience and the touch that makes it different.
Yes, exactly. These are the ingredients. It was spring onion, a little MSG, a little salt. This one is the garlic with the star anise. This one is the star anise.
So you put the star anise and then
This
you crunch together.
You pound it, then
Okay. And then all that goes into
the stomach of the pig.
Okay.
First is the salt, then the MSG. Then the third is the
garlic and the anise.
with the star anise.
Okay. When you put it inside, do you have to kind of spread it
Yes, you have
around?
to spread it after this one.
Okay.
You're going to stuff with the spring onions.
Okay. So you put 7-Up also for,
Yes.
is that for moisture?
Yes, extra moisture.
And the size, the most common size is?
This one.
This one.
Good for 30 to 40 packs.
Packs, yeah.
So you have to close stitch. You're going to use a thread that is like pang crochet. Ibawal yung plastic. You have to use not toxic materials.
Toxic material, yeah. But this doesn't burn, no, the string.
It will.
Yeah. So when you do 120 pigs a day, this whole place, I'm guessing there's a lot of smoke. Because there's a lot of other lechoneros in Talisay also, right? There's plenty, right? Did you ever open a lechon shop? No.
No.
You prefer just supplying?
Yes, pre-order basis only.
Yeah. And for your pig supply, do you usually?
From Negros.
Okay, so you have a specific supplier. You just trust the quality of the way that they raise their pigs?
When they reach here, I'm going to inspect one of them. If I don't like that kind, I'm going to return that. I don't pay it.
Okay. And they're live when they come?
Yes,
the
live.
Pigs, is that a specific variety? Black pig? Filipino black pig?
Native. Kasi pag native, yung skin talaga magiging crunchy talaga kahit bukas pa.
Okay, so yun yung difference talaga.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Do you understand Tagalog?
Yes, yeah. I'm not very good, but I understand it.
They still roast pigs the old way, the way the generation before them did it. Live coals, never direct heat, little contraptions here and there to concentrate the temperature, slow turning, and really nothing fancy. You watch the fat render, smell the lemongrass burning inside the cavity. The crackling sound is hypnotic. By the time it's carved, the whole neighborhood smells like Christmas. Here, that's every day of the year.
Sana dalawa ang puso ko.
Gives yours.
Give a shit.
Kuya, ang ganda yung boses ko, hindi?
While waiting, we take a walk and we buy puso. Rice wrapped in woven coconut leaves. Each one is a small feat of geometry woven by hands from Lucay. The weave keeps the rice compact, the leaf adds aroma, and the shape lets it hang cleanly in clusters. No plates, no waste. Just rice you can hold. It's food engineering passed down through practice.
Ang sa Maynila, suman. Ang sa amin dito sa Cebu, puso, kanin. Ang sa Maynila, malagkit. Dito, bigas.
So ito, at ito.
Binaba.
Binaba.
O, kinasing.
Kinasing kasi mukhang puso.
Oo.
Ah, kinasing-kasing. Ito, parang triangle.
Sa Mingla, ganito ang yung... Sa ibang lugar.
Aming Manila. Pero dito sa Talisay, ito.
Kinasing.
Kinasing. Wow.
The texture of the rice is also really different. It's slightly more cakey, sturdy, perfect for dipping, and becoming the ultimate flavor vehicle.
May sikrito. Which one?
You want the brain?
The brain, yes.
Okay na naman sa amin si Tito.
Ito yung love of my life.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, what's the brain?
I've never eaten it like this. So this is just eat it like this?
Yes, yes.
Straight?
But it's hot. Careful.
That's okay. Wow. Very creamy. And not strong, the flavor. It's very mild.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, let's try the skin. What's your favorite part?
The ribs part.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Listen to that sound. And you're saying no sauce needed, right?
Yes, no sauce needed.
Look at that. So good.
So,
Mm.
no need of Mang Tomas.
No need Mang Tomas. No need
Yes.
anything. Now I understand why it was important to get the high flame in the beginning.
Yes.
It makes the pores very tight.
That's it. That's the secret.
So it's super nice and kind of like almost salty crusty. I'll try the meat.
Yeah.
Mmm. It's 8:30 in the morning. So we have the diniguan, right?
Yes.
And then your chicharon bulaklak. This is the hack. That's the hack. Mmm. And then you also serve the fried liver. And this is just fried with salt.
A little soy sauce.
Mmm. So nothing in the pig goes to waste.
Yes.
You use everything.
Yes.
Amazing. So when Cebuanos eat this with puso, there's no sauce. It's just
Yes, yes.
just the puso
Puso and lechon.
and the lechon. Okay. And calamansi just
If you like.
pang-timpla lang if you like.
Pang-timpla lang if you like.
Mmm. I'm gonna keep rolling so you guys don't eat it.
No.
This is so good.
Sarap na po.
Delicious. Thank you so much.
For everything it's known for, there is still a lot that goes under the radar. Like most provinces, the flashy, tantalizing dishes tend to hog the limelight. But the heirloom recipes, those passed down from generations or even pre-colonial times, sit quietly, waiting for younger generations to appreciate them.
I'm Mrs. Josefina Magallones, the owner of Jess's Traditional Homemade Torta. expected namin talaga na pag fiesta na, torta na. Kasi yung torta lang, kakain lang kami dyan pag September. Para bang, for example, may darating na bisita. Pag uwi dyan, yun. They are really expecting na, oy, uwi na kami. Maghintay yun. O, bakit nandyan pa yun? Yun, nakahintay ng supot ng... So, parang pasalubong talaga. Ako, nung bata pa ko, ganito. Pag walang nakakita, yan, punta ko dyan, pak. I started it kasi yung may customer ang mama ko na naghanap sa kanya, sabi ko, what if? Kasi yung location ko talaga, kahit masarap yung ano mo, talagang disadvantage yung location ko sa kanila. But still, I tried my best. So, sa awa naman ng Diyos, for 25 years, I'm here, still here. Once you mention the word torta, it belongs to Argao. I think this was introduced during the Spanish time. Parang somebody from there, from the south, another one from here, they're claiming they are the original torta makers, but I think it's really Argao. Yun lang. So, it was only commercialized later on yun na, matanda na ako. Yung sa one of the projects of the former governor, that's the time yung utop, one town, one product. That's why yun. Parang marami na, commercialized na agad. Sabi ko, parang gift sa akin ito ni Lord. Kasi for example, ngayon, wala na akong asawa. Talaga, I was just a plain housewife before. I was 20 years old when I got married. Yes. So I was not allowed by my husband to work. And I told him, baka one day, tapos lang, parang ganun ba? May mangyari for what? Yung ano ko na lang yan. Oh, see? So, para sa akin, it's a gift. Imagine 44 na yun lang, 44 years old, tapos nag-start ng business. Yung sa ingredients talaga, kung yun lang, yung egg, kung maraming egg, iba talaga ang lasa. For example, lately, yun, may iba na silang linagyan na nila ang flavor ang torta. But still, I stick to the old recipes. And I think, basta that's me. I prefer that way. Para yung torta sa Argao, at saka yung mga sa mga customers ko, feedbacks, it's really, sabi na iba talaga yung torta mo. O see? So this morning, we're going to make some demonstration on how to prepare our native delicacy, the torta. Sugar, then the tuba, that is the leavening agent, pambatubo. So next is, this is the melted butter. Then add the milk. We have to use the evaporated milk oil. Yung lasa talaga ng torta, it's really different from yung parang pan or whatever. It's really different. In Bisaya, mahubog. You feel dizzy, no, it's not true. So we have, after that, ang sugar melt na, no, everything. Then we have to add the flour. So we are using the traditional way of mixing the ingredients. We're still using the hands. This one belongs to my mother. This is the measurement before, not like down, it's by kilos. So, to remember, as I remember sa mama ko, I'm still using this one. So, ang measurement ko sa flour hanggang ngayon, ginamit ko yon. In Bisaya, that's salupan. In that's chupa. Yeah, 6 of that is equivalent to 1 ganta. That's the most important here is the number of eggs. It's really different. The taste is really different. It's only the egg yolk. Now, here comes the lard. Baboy yan, galing baboy yan. Now, but you can substitute that by using any kind of oil. But the result is different. Kasi yung tuba, yun ang papatubo. That's the leavening agent. Here comes, I think, the lard. It's the ma-preserve talaga. Apan hindi masyadong matagal, masira talaga yun. Oh, we have to add the eggs. See? Oh, that's 180. Nung una, alam mo, yung mantika na ginamit namin, yung mantika ng baboy, adubong baboy last year. It smells, the smell is different but it's still good. Kaya ba, mag-adobo ka, no? Fiesta ngayon. Yung mantika ng baboy, ilagay mo sa galon, yung glass, not the, Tapos yun, you have to open that next year for the torta. So I'm just having my survivor, yung pension. Well, I need the money. That's the reason, especially yung asawa ko patay na. And my maintenance, kunti na lang para pang electric bill at saka phone bill. And to be honest with you, dito ko hinugot lahat na ko. Gastusin ko dito sa torta. I hope na my son, because I have only one, sana, parang wala kung hindi ko makita yun sa anak ko. Iba talaga, sa totoo lang. This is really a gift from God. So until, see, why will you stop? Still good. The business is still good.
Kinutil is a creamy, rich drink made from tuba, raw egg yolks, and local tablea. Known as the Filipino mudslide, kinutil has been a part of the local morning routine for generations, traditionally enjoyed by farmers to fuel long days in the field. While versions of this beloved drink are found across Mindanao and other parts of Visayas, this one is proudly made in Cebu.
Sa amo diri mga trabaho. Pangumarag yun. Yara may mga pangumana mo diri. Trabaho na sa yuta. Muna yung panginabuhian. Diri dapita. Akong papa, kung akong papa, murag 18 pa edad, wa pa may mga tao. Uli tao pa akong papa din hinaling yuta sa mga kintanar. Nya, pag kami niya, ng anak, kami sa uban lang sa amin niya nga rin. Maunang kami diri, anak pabilin diri ko ana. Kami, pwede rag, og kami mag-inom ingon ining ko ana, pwede rag itlog tablea ray isagol. Inom nga may anang mga wagi kuan. Wagi mga sagol-sagol nga ko. Kanang tuba lang gid pure ba? Kanang mga tinunggan nga tuba, inom ra may ana. Kanang mga tinunggan, pero mao lagi na makahubog og daghan gid mainom na to. Siya. Kasagaran inig buntag kana inig humag pamahaw mo na kasagaran gina mo kuan og ingog kanang maadlang Domingo pwede maghapon inom ini magpangita pa og kuan mga ligon mga tutunulan ning mga nginom lip kaning inom mag-unaan tuba punan pa mga binutilya kana lapad kulapo mo na ipuno na makuwangan sa tuba kay nihit na manananggot sa diri dapitan nihit manananggot na ang tigsaka sa kana ang lubi ako lami ay Lami gani ng way sagol, samot pa ng dahing masagol. Na gatas, napay orange, Milo, tablia, itlog. Puti naging nindutaan ang imnon, murag muhanoy na lang sa atong tutunlan. Murag di na masabod. O, labaw nagtinunggan gyud kani wa man itungog. Manita tawgog tuba nga binagre kana na ang tuba nga way tungog binagre may ngana na address kuan. Amo drink. Kasagaran anak ka naging maadlaw Domingo. Anang murag kuan ay trabaho ba? Magka tapok-tapok na ang mga barkada. Maningon na magkasabot na nga managpalit nagtuba. Yun ana.
Gawa po ba sila niyan?
Oo. Wala ilang kuan sa una akong nga ginikanan. Itong mga uyuan ako. Muna ilang mga kuan kasagaran ni ana kay kani atong panahon wa man ning binutilya sa ilang mga panahon. Tuba kunat way ng ilang gamit kay pulpulo to sila manananggot akong papa akong mga uyuan murag tulo to sila magsuon adir sa damo kuan na ang mga kuan sa mga uban mga igsuon ba nga mo ni ingon na isagol. Kuan ni kanang murag espesyal kay ni pagkakutilay ngon ini. Dire lagi sa kamilay mag kuan itlog ra ginag kanana ang tablia. Murag sagol kami magkutil. Dire. Nagiingon nga langit-langit. Kanang mo miglungag nga ma oh, dia pakai gatas ay. Tamis kayak ini, sambut gini tamis. Ay, pwede na ni. Ilawan ta. Ako na. Dami oy. Inumta.
For these dishes to be appreciated, we need to start cooking them more at home and talking about them. That way, if they're being forgotten, they become part of our everyday or even at least part of our celebrations.
The Balbacua, there is no word for that in the equivalent in the Cebuano dialect or language. Because Balbacua comes from the Spanish word Barbacua, which means slow cooking. So the method, binigay nilang pangalan sa dish. Kasi siguro na-observe ng ating mga old people before na yung tinuro ng Kastila na food was always slow cook. And maybe nagsasabi na ibarbacua, meaning to say slow cook it para lumambot, di ba? So, of course, we always mangle naman the language that we are introduced to. So, ang barbacua naging balbacua. The original recipe which I got from a 1924 cookbook written by Maria Rallos, who was the wife of the first mayor of Cebu during the American era. That's the turn of the century. After 1898, tapos dumating ang Amerikano, so mga 1910, 1920s, they were already cooking. And Maria Rallos wrote a cookbook. The recipe is still there because it was written. That's why I had to write things down. See, 100 years ago, I'm still using that cookbook that was written 100 years ago. The third dish is the kasahos. It's like beef jerky. Tapa, I think, in Tagalog. Kasi yan, you slice it thinly, and then lalagyan mo ng asin, bawang, pepper. Pagkatapos nito, ibibilad sa araw. And then you dry it in the sun. So it will last you several days. But in Danao, you can still find kasahos made of kalabaw. We Filipinos are not fond of documenting. Have you noticed that? Most of our history comes from foreigners who wrote about us. Pigafetta, who wrote about our pre-colonial food and pre-colonial habits and way of dressing. Without Pigafetta, we would not have learned what we wore then, and then we would not learn what we ate then. He talked about budbud kabog already from that time. See, without him writing about the food that they ate when they arrived here, we would not have known pre-colonial food. Now, all the other writers who wrote about us were French, Americans, and all that. But somehow, in this century, we have found the need to write our own history. I think the writing of Hikay needed to be done because the food that we grew up in is starting to be lost by the current generation. To know that I have done something for the future generation. I think it is very sad for a recipe to disappear. It's a big loss culturally, historically. The food that nourished our people. Ayan, naiyak ako. It's like losing a part of your history. It's part of losing your history and your soul as a people. Kasi fast food na lang tayo ng fast food. Yun, all you know is how to eat fried chicken. All you know is how to eat burgers. And now with the influx of Korean and Japanese cooking, mas alam pa natin yun kaysa ating sariling pagkain. Masama yung bakit ako umiyak. Ayun. It's so sad.
From the smoke of lechon pits in Talisay to the salt air of Tabuan Market, from siomai stalls in Tisa to young chefs who mix innovation with ancestry, Cebu is a story of continuity. It's modern but grounded, restless but rooted, and every bite here reminds you that progress means nothing if it forgets the hands that built the flavor in the first place.